Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from.
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
We struggled with ASU strike.
The Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
It is another wonderful day and it is weekend. Today is a bright day, and one of the things that makes today very bright is for the fact that you have a lot of time to rest today. Something happens when it's weekend, and that's the fact that a lot of people get settled, a lot of people feel good, a lot of people settle down, a lot of people have a cool mental state. Some persons are psychologically stable when it is weekend, especially people who do things they don't love. Another beautiful morning is right here on Global Television. This is Global Morning and of course the weekend edition. We're taking this ride together and we will have so much to do on the weekend edition of Global Morning with my humble self, Ramsey Enoch Agbo. This is something that I would love us to know today, that you are able to be part of this program today. It means your day have started on a very beautiful note, and I don't have an atom of doubt about it that you will be going out, you will be returning, and everything is going to work in your favor today. That's my prayer for you, and that's my word for you. Along the line, I will bring you the top stories from the dailies, the weekend dailies. I will be bringing you the headlines, the major headlines, and of course, I will have some discussion segment where we talk about topical issues. There's so many things happening in the country right now. Some persons are asking questions that they can't find answers to. But one very important thing is the fact that every question in life has an answer, except you are not able to get the answer from where you are looking for it. Because whatever question you think you have, someone else has the answer. Whatever you think you are going through, someone else might have gone through it before now. And that's the consolation. I heard a story where someone was looking for a pair of shoes, okay? And someone else doesn't have the leg to put on the shoes. So you begin to make some comparisons, and you get to know that in every stage of your life, you need to be very, very grateful to God. You need to be thankful to God. You need to appreciate God for every single day, irrespective of what is happening in the society. Because I know some persons will say, hey, come on, he doesn't know what I'm going through. Whatever it is you're going through, whatever it is, all right, be it the hardship that is bedeviling the society, the nation, every Nigerian right now, is something that we believe and we trust in God that within the shortest moment, it's going to go away. We'll get over it. Coming this far means you have already tried, you have endured. But then, before I go on a quick break, I need to say this, that you need to be your own counselor. Because at this very particular point, we have a lot of motivational speakers on social media. Everywhere you turn on your television, you hear motivational speakers. You go on social media, you hear motivational speakers. The best motivational speaker that you need right now is you. I'm talking to you, you yourself. You are the only person that can motivate yourself. You are the only person that has the right word that you need to hear right now. And what is that word? I can make it. I will succeed. I will get over it. I will keep doing the right things at the right time. I will change my association, because any association that is not taking you where you are supposed to be, it's not an association to be in. So it's good to change your clique of friends. All right. So on Global Morning today, we'll be looking at what's happening in Ondo State, the election, which is coming with a very high speed. Okay. Next week, it's going to be another time for Ondo State for the off-cycle election. I hear that Tiwa is on top of his game. Every other person are on top of their game. But one very important thing happened in Ondo State within the week. And we'll talk about that. And that's the signing of the peace accord. The signing of the peace accord speaks a lot of message. I could remember in 2015, during the period that the peace accord was supposed to be signed, a lot of things happened. During the presidential election of 2023, so many things happened when it was time for the peace accord to be signed. What is significant about the signing of the peace accord? We'll get to know all of that as my guest will be joining me much later as we proceed in the program, so that he can add his voice to that conversation. And don't also forget that we would also talk about productivity. Where do you find yourself today? Where are you? What are you doing? What are you bringing to the table in your office, in your organization, where you work, in your family? Like they say, charity begins at home. What are you bringing to the table? What idea do you have? What level of productivity, all right, have you attained so far? Or you are just relaxed, you're comfortable where you are? No, you don't need to be comfortable. I tell people all the time, one thing you need to do is this: make sure you are always on the move, in pursuit, hungry for success, for growth, for human development. It's very necessary, because this is a digital age. If you don't do all of that before you know, you are already outdated. And when you are outdated, you're not useful anymore. Then you begin to cry foul that you don't have a means of livelihood anymore. A lot of people are not employable today. Why? Because of personal development. We'll be talking about all of that productivity, especially in the civil service. Why is our economy dwindling on a daily basis? Why are we looking outside when we need to look inside? What's wrong? We'll look at all of that as part of one of our discussions today. And don't also forget that creativity is very important for societal development. Which area are you creative? What is your creativity bringing to you, bringing to the society? How is it shaping the life and destiny of people in the society? All of this will form part of the discussion on the weekend edition of Global Morning today with Ramsey Enoch. But let's go on a quick break. After this break, I'll return and look at the dailies. Let's get to look at the major headlines. What is it saying? We'll bring that to you after this break. Let's quickly look at the national dailies and see what the papers are saying this morning. What's making round? What story is worth listening to this morning? You know, it's not every information that it's consumable, but any information you get on global television is the top notch, and it's exactly what you need. Let's quickly look at the leadership this morning. Leadership weekend, the weekend leadership. What is it there? What is in for us on the leadership this morning? On the leadership, I have the big headline which says, we were devastated. Minors' parents are the ones saying that, you know, the issue of minors, okay, that actually came to court. That story is really making round. A lot of people are saying so many things about that. Then I have this one which also says Kaduna community battles refinery over environmental pollution. These refineries are not working. All right. If the refineries are not working and it's constituting nuisance and is polluting the environment for the people of Kaduna State, what do you think should be done? I think I'll need to talk about this a little bit. The reason why I want to talk about it is the fact that majority of the problems that we have in the country today came from crude. All right. A lot of people, a lot of attention went to crude oil, but then in this administration, we are having the highest price of petroleum, PMS, premium motor spirit. As it is right now, refinery in Kaduna State is not working. The one in Warri is not working. The one in Port Harcourt that we were promised severally that it was going to work never worked. But then, money is going in there. There are people working there that are taking salaries. But then, not things coming out of it. Come to talk about that of Kaduna now, where we are hearing that it's causing environmental hazard. What do you think should be done? I don't think the president should just sit down. The NNPC chairman, president, every other person, stakeholders, you know, just sit down and see this thing cause hazard to the people. It's not profiting the people, but rather causing hazard, environmental pollution to the people. It's not worth it. So something should be done immediately. And more headlines still coming from the leadership this morning. On the leadership, I have this headline which says, North has other revenue sources. Bala Mohammed is the one saying that, and you can get the details on page 13. This one is saying Trump names chief of staff, Tim vets prospective appointees. That is from the United States of America. Then lastly, from the leadership newspaper this morning, Bureau recovers black box of crashed helicopter. And that's the size of the headlines from the leadership newspaper this morning as we move to the next point of call. And of course, our next point of call is the Nigerian Tribune. What does the Nigerian Tribune have for us this beautiful weekend? I know something very interesting will be coming from the national dailies today, because a lot of people are waiting to hear good news. All you hear from here is good news, of course, because we need to be sure you are informed. Let's quickly look at the Saturday Tribune. The Saturday Tribune has this one which says, 1 week to Ondo governor poll. Politicians warning voters with rice and garri. Oh my God. Do you hear that? This is interesting. This is interesting. 1 week to governorship poll in Ondo State, and politicians are warning voters with rice and garri. This is another thing. Remember, INEC promised us that what happened in Edo State is not going to repeat itself in Ondo State, because they've learned their lesson. That came from the INEC chairman, Mahmood himself. Now it's like something worse is about happening in Ondo State. I'm not predicting it, okay? But looking at this, because of the hunger in the land, these people want to take advantage of the situation and woo people to vote wrongly by giving them rice And Gary, it might not even be a bag of rice. People are looking for cups of rice, noodles of rice just to survive. This is another antique. Again, this is part of the antiques. People want to use this, all right, to sabotage this election. But then, where would the wisdom come from? That's the question when people are hungry. Let's just take note of that. In fact, my guest is going to talk extensively about that when we get into the conversation proper. Just one writer to that story. Ex-head of state plead for peaceful election. NHRC panel clears military of false abortion allegation. It is on page 4. Police arrest parents of murdered 2-year-old Bauchi girl. The details read on page 6 of the Saturday Tribune. This one says 2 weeks later, black box of crashed helicopter recovered. That's 2 weeks after the incident. Then this one says, more headlines still coming from the Nigerian Tribune, the Saturday Tribune. Full autonomy for local governments will take time to achieve. This is coming from the federal government. One of the things that actually made people happy when the court judgment came for the local government autonomy is the fact that a lot of governors who have held the local government council hostage for years will now not have the opportunity to do that because the allocation to the local government will not be coming from the state anymore. But then, what do you think will happen if the full autonomy, if you say autonomy is coming and it's not full, then what's the essence? Why do we need to have the autonomy when it's not coming in full? If you are giving autonomy, let it be in full so that the people will know they have full autonomy. But then if you're given autonomy and you said, well, the full autonomy for local governments will take time. When is that time? And why is it taking a whole lot of time when the judgment has been passed? What's there? And let your leaders, your chairmen, and allocations will come directly to the local government council, not through the state governors anymore, who then appoint caretaker chairmen that they can use, that they have the right to hire and fire at will. That's good enough. But then, if you're telling Nigerians that, well, the local government autonomy will take time than expected, I don't know why. I think the federal government should go ahead to tell Nigerians the reason why they feel the local government autonomy is going to take a longer time than expected. More still coming from the Saturday Tribune this morning. This one says it's amazing that Tribune has outlived all its peers in the last 75 years, all right? Celebrating 75-year-old. Okay. Finally, from the Nigerian Tribune, why we are quitting APC in droves, Osun defectors. Why we are quitting APC in droves. That's coming from people who cross carpet. One of the things I was telling someone, I said, well, if not that is part of the constitution or the party constitution and part of the law, defecting would have been stopped. Because you see a lot of people cross carpeting from one party to the other, and you see a recycling of a particular set of people. Meaning you will have people do the same thing from year to year, 4 years to 4 years. You see repetition of the same thing from the local government council up the ladder, you know, because of defection, people defecting. Defectors move cross carpet from one party to the other when they are aggrieved. When they see that maybe something is not going their way anymore, they cross carpet. That's not good for the system. But then, let's see what will be done about that. Moving away from there, let's get to our next point of call, which is the Saturday Independent. What does the Saturday Independent have for us this morning? On Saturday Independent today, we have a lot of juicy headlines. And I'll get started with the major headline, which is the big story. The big story said, no end in sight for Nigeria's recurring grid collapse. It's laughable. It's laughable. I was telling one of my bosses, we're speaking, and there's been a prediction. When we heard that the grid collapsed the first time, it was in the news, we carried it. And there was this statement that came from one of my bosses that don't be surprised that you hear of another collapse of the grid again. And to the surprise of everyone in the office, a day or two after, we heard that there is another collapse of the grid. And when I saw my boss, I looked up and I smiled. I said, this prediction has come up. And this is what the country is getting into, what the country is becoming now. Is it that sometimes Nigerians will be tempted to ask certain questions? Is it that someone is profiting from the collapse of the grid? Why will you fix a grid that collapsed today and you tell Nigerians that it has been fixed, then 2 days after there's another collapse again? This is something that a lot of Nigerians depend on, a social amenity that everyone needs, every household needs, every business needs. If I tell you the amount of diesel fuel that organizations burn to run, you will be surprised, because the power is not even there. In the first place, you will be forced to use some of these machines, generating plants. And this is not good for the nation. If we really want to build this nation, if we want to make this country work, there are certain things that we need to do. And number one is the power sector. Someone was saying that when some ministers were shown the way out, one of the foremost ministers that the president said he was expecting to hear his name was the Minister of Power, the coordinating minister of the economy and all of that. But then I think the president knows what exactly he's doing. But then I think we need more improvement in our power sector. Very vital, because nothing, no business, no household exists without power. Power is being obstructed from time to time. The grid, if I tell you what this grid collapse has done to the economy of the nation, it will amaze you. So this is an area that we mustn't joke with. Discuss, all right, TCN and every other person, PHCN and whatever they are called, the stakeholders should sit down, speak with the federal government. What needs to be done should be done, so that this collapse, which is an international and national embarrassment, will come to an end. It's possible. We can do it. It's achievable. If we want to get it, we will really get it right. So I don't see any reason why the grid should be collapsing. We're talking about national grid. My God. Do you know what national grid is all about? It's not so good for this country. It's not speaking well of us. So something needs to be done about that. More headlines are still coming on your way this morning. Let's quickly get to other headlines. This one says absence of clear fiscal policies shift business planning. This one is coming from Nasima. More headlines are 33.1 million Nigerians to face food insecurity in 2025. That's the report coming right now. 2025, looking at the state of the hunger right now, and 2025, what's going to happen? It's not going to be too good for the nation. So something needs to be done. Something needs to be done ASAP. There's no time to waste. If you say there's going to be light at the end of the tunnel, at least now that we are at the middle of the tunnel, we should be able to see a glimpse of the light, all right? Maybe a reflection. If we're not seeing the full light, we should be able to see the reflection of the light at the end of the tunnel. That will beam up hope for Nigerians, and you see every hand being on deck as we work towards the development and growth of the economy of the nation. It is our responsibility as citizens, right, to make sure the economy works. But more, the buck is in the hands of the federal government. We are citizens. The only thing we do is just support on our own part. All right, let's move from here. The final one that I will be taking is still from the Saturday Independent. Niger Delta Group gives federal government 21-day ultimatum to fix Warri Port Harcourt Refinery, or sack Kyari. Gang. I need to say that sack Kyari, right? Or else fix Port Harcourt. But then the federal government is not even speaking again. NNPCL is not speaking again. What's happening? You promised Nigerians. See, let's call spade a spade. All right, we're not supporting any form of agitation, anything that will disrupt our governance. But then some things are worth doing and worth doing well. Why promise what you know you can't do? Nigerians were promised that the Port Harcourt refinery especially was going to be fixed some months back. Up to now, we don't even hear anything about it anymore. What's online now is Dangote Refinery, marketers, disagreement, price of fuel rising from one stage to the other, and all of that. What is happening to the Port Harcourt Refinery? What about the Warri Refinery? What about the Kaduna Refinery, which is even constituting nuisance and environmental pollution for the people of Kaduna State right now? What's happening? Well, this is an agitation. Niger Delta Group have given the federal government 21 days ultimatum to fix Port Harcourt and Warri Refinery, or else come out to tell Nigerians, what stage are you? Where are we right now? Is it going to be fixed anytime soon? Or we are relaxed about it already? Our naira is falling like a stone on a daily basis. Fuel is rising, despite the fact that we have a refinery in the country now. Even more than when we have a refinery in the country, even though it is for an individual and not for the federal government, but then it should be able to cushion the effect of the subsidy removal to an extent. But the reverse is now the case. We hear things every day, marketers, statements that don't even make meanings to Nigerians anymore. So this agitation, 21 days ultimatum. Let's see what's going to happen after the 21 days. All right, as I try to wind up, let's quickly get to the next point of call. The Saturday Telegraph, the big story there say, Tarit's death may lead to my demise. Tarit's death may lead to my demise. All right, Tajuddin Lagbaja is the one saying that. That's the father of the Chief of Army Staff that just passed. The father is saying, well, the death of Tarit may lead to his own death. You know what happened to parents? Well, we don't wish anyone death, but we want to say, may the soul of the faithful departed rest in perfect peace. This one says, bad leadership breeding new terror groups. General Ikponwen, the Ahmadri are the ones saying that. That's the same thing the former president said. Ondo poll, accept outcome of election. General Abdulsalami tells parties. I think that statement came when the peace accord was being signed. All right. This one is saying, Abiodun Aloba's son, how my father got arrested with a Nahuru for alleged coup plot. And this one says, NSIB recovers black box, continuous search for 3 bodies. NNPP crisis, AIDS, party stalwarts pressure Yusuf to dish Kwankwaso. One rider to that story, no rift between Kanu governor, Kwankwaso. This is coming from Ladibo Johnson. Details on page 2. Nigeria, sentenced to 10 years in U.S. prison. Nigerian sentenced to 10 years in prison at the United States. Details on page 28. What's the reason? $20 million cyber fraud is the reason why he's been imprisoned in the United States. That's what we're talking about. Yesterday with someone from the United States who happened to be one of my guests. You know, a lot of Nigerians are perpetrating some crimes outside the country. $20 million cyber crime. You know what that means? Well, I think that's the reason he is getting into prison. That's going to be the size of the headlines from the national dailies this morning. Let's go on a quick break. After this break, we'll get into the first discussion where my guest will be joining me as we discuss some very vital issues. What's happening in Ondo State? Are we going to have a repeat of what happened in Ondo State, even though the electoral body, INEC's chairman, has said, well, we've learned our lessons. Things will get better in Ondo State. And of course, the peace accord is being signed already. What will be the outcome of that election? What impact will the peace accord make? What are the take-homes from the US election as far as elections in Nigeria is concerned? All this will form the basis for our discussion after this break. Stay with us.
Global Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofrebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Getting on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning team.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Oji walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bands, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point. This is business. This is Imo State, southeast of Nigeria. As the wind of transformation blows across the eastern heartland, Imolites bask in the excitement of landmark developmental strides cutting across health, education, infrastructure, economy, and job creation. Imo State in Focus brings you all the highlights of Governor Hope Uzodinma-led administration's impact on the lives of the good people of Imo State. Imo State in Focus, Sunday at 10:30 p.m. West African time on Global Television.
Good to have you back from that break. And of course, we're getting into the discussion proper. My guest is already here. Instead of us talking about the Ondo election, there's something very unique that we need to talk about before we talk about the Edo election. In the next discussion, it's very important for us to talk about productivity issues in the country. One of the reasons we are where we are today is because of underproduction. So many consumption, but no production. That's by the way. Let's just focus on the civil service resourcefulness in the civil service. These are people who, what they get, their salaries come from the taxpayers' money. The federal government pay them to do their job. But how resourceful have they been in the years past? That's going to form the basis for our discussion this beautiful morning. And of course, I have Mr. Ogulore Olamilekon joining me on the program today. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
It's good to have you today.
Thank you.
How's the weekend? Well, I obstructed your plans for the weekend because you need to talk to the people this morning.
No problems.
All right, let's look at productivity, the issue of productivity in the civil service. This has been a problem in the past. And let's take a cue from Edo State, for instance. There was a time that the governor of Edo State, talking about Obaseki, will have to bring up an institution, some very stringent rules to make people do their work, such that you need to go through that civil service school to be relevant, to know what you can do to contribute to the state. That's for Edo State, and that's for someone who thought of it. But then maybe in Lagos State doing something like that, then you talk about the civil service setting generally. The level of resourcefulness is something else. A lot of people are redundant and attitudes to work. How did we get here?
Well, we need to look at it in the first place. What is our disposition to that which is public? When we say it is everybody's task, it's actually nobody's assignment. Now, you want to sit down. Majority of people in the system, even in some private sector in Nigeria, once the job is tied to salary, is considered as I am working for the salary. Whether I do enough or not, at the end of the month, the salary gets paid. Now, so when the mentality therefore is that I want to put on the road safety uniform to collect salary, I want to put on civil defense uniform to collect salary, I want to put on the army uniform for ego and money, then you realize that the job will not get done. So the priority therefore will be, one, what is our recruitment process? Are we recruiting people based on need? Are we recruiting people based on competence? Are we recruiting people because there are jobs to do? Or we are just satisfying parochial interest? Now, where people are being recruited to satisfy parochial interest, you do not expect them to go beyond that. The interest has been satisfied. So, when you say you want productivity, there has to be definite outcomes. We're putting 10 people on this job to execute X, Y, Z. And then there's a KPI. These are your key performance indicators. If these things are not done, you have failed. I've once been in the customer service environment where they tell you every call must get same-day response. What is same-day response? From when the customer initiates the call to when you respond, it must not be more than 8 hours. 8 working hours. That's what is considered same-day response. Now, not just the response, they expect that this, when you are satisfied, the customer must be satisfied by that your one response for at least 22 working days. If he complains in less than that time, then your service is considered as not reliable. So when those parameters are there, then you realize that the individual wants to do what is, he wants to put in his best to ensure that at least he's doing the job.
But in all of this, in everything you've said now, whose fault is it? Because someone is there and the person is saying, well, I'm doing this for the benefit that I need to get, the salary that I need to get. Is it the supervisors of the federal, state, and of course government who employ these people, and there is no proper monitoring? Who is to be blamed? All the people who are not doing the job.
Well, like I said, monitoring and evaluation must be set in place. First, you set the rules, the general rules. These are the outcomes we expect from this office. When that is defined, this is your output. Now, this is your key performance indicators. The next question will be, whose duty is to measure this KPI? And if there are failures, what are the consequences? Now, when there is no consequence for a failure, the failure is bound to repeat continuously. And then you see, of course, in the public sector, that a number of things that needed not be done at all are done efficiently, and what needed be done sometimes are left unattended to. So, to that extent, you will say that the different level of supervision, the different level of authority should also have their KPI. For instance, if you are supposed to, if you are responsible for, as far as I'm concerned, if you are responsible for ensuring that primary health care services are running, and then you discover that nothing is happening in that sector, whoever is responsible for ensuring that they run should not be the one to head the committee that will investigate what has gone wrong. As a matter of fact, he should technically go on suspension, and then the investigation is done in his absence. If he is found culpable for not supervising appropriately, he should be given the right sanction. But unfortunately, in our case, he or she will be the one to head the committee for a job that he was supposed to have done that was not done. But you still give him the privilege to now come and speak English to us in the name of writing report, just like we have for TCN. As far as I'm concerned, we need to look at what do we need to get away from where we are, not a committee that should tell us what is wrong. That the infrastructures are old, everybody knows that. So if a committee sat for 3 weeks and come back with that report, for me, it's doing excellently, efficiently what needed not be done at all.
All right, doing excellently, efficiently. First, what's needed not be done at all? Well, that's massive. Let's talk about accountability. What's the level of the evaluation of accountability in the civil service?
Well, the reality is, like we have said, if you have defined KPIs, if the rules are not set, then you can't blame anybody. You go around most government establishments. I know back in 2008 we were trying to push turnstile so that people can clock in and clock out, and then you can actually check over time and know what time does even this individual spend in the public workplace. Go around today, turnstile is everywhere. How many of them are actually card activated? They are free ride. So all that was turned to was an avenue to award contracts, and then the projects are done, the money is spent. Today, you can, maybe in CBN, I think it's still working, but in most other places, particularly around the Federal Secretariat, none of the turnstile is card activated. You just pass and it rolls you in and it rolls you out. So apart from forming maybe a little barrier to create human traffic, it's not doing any other purpose.
Don't you think some persons even vandalized it, or maybe some persons who are actually culprit are responsible for that?
No, if you want it to work, at the point is an equipment. When you acquire equipment, there should be a service level agreement, an SLA, or a maintenance contract with the supplier or a supporting company. In which case, if that happens, then you realize that in the event of failure, corrections are done quickly. But in a case where it is not working at all, because of course they can be disabled, so it could also have been deliberately disabled. But what we are saying in essence is, you see a lot of projects and a lot of things are done, right? What was the outcome at the point of doing it? When we were proposing, it was meant to control access, it was meant for safety, for you to be able to say, look, this is the number of people we have in this facility, and this number of people are yet to exit. So in the event of an emergency, you know that there are still 2 or 3 people in the facility that may need rescue.
Okay, let's look at it. Is there any way, all right, is there any way the people who are not resourceful in the civil service, is there any way they can be asked out, or is there anything that can be done?
Now, I will say this from one of my past experience or past interaction with one of the ministry. Maybe I won't mention the ministry. I work for Xerox at the time, so we service photocopiers. And then there is this machine room where there are about 4 staff. And that machine room, none of the machine had worked for 2 years.
And there are staffs there.
And there are staffs there. So a certain, if I can remember his name, Dr. Money, he came as head of human resource.
Just hold your tongue for a minute. Let's go on a quick break because what you're saying now is very vital. We'll come back to it, but then let's go on a quick break. After this break, we'll return and of course we'll continue with the conversation. Well, that was very striking. That was very striking. We needed to go on that break so that that can be taken emphatically once again. So, like you were saying, you were citing an instance in a place where 4 staffs are located. The 4 staff are there, but then the machineries are not working for 2 good years.
2 years.
Please talk to us.
So when he came into the ministry, I think as the director, that was when they just marked the supplies to human resources. So they have director admin and supplies, and then he resumed. They have always reports to the DD supplies who is in finance, but now they are reporting to him in admin for the first time. So when he got there, he now looked at and said, look guys, if this machine does not work over the next 48 hours, consider that you no longer have a job in this ministry. These are people who have begged for 2 years. Let this machine be serviced. Put this machine on maintenance contract, and they keep pushing around. The following morning, I usually get to the office between 7:15 and 7:20. The security man told me some people were waiting for me at 7 o'clock. What happened? He said he will sack them if the machine did not work. Please come and save our job. I said, no, it's not about saving your job. What did he tell you the machine need to work? And from where you are, the machine has been 2 years out of contract, you have done nothing. But in essence, within 48 hours, everything that needed to be done to get this machine working, these guys cooperated. Got the input of the director and the main photocopying room, the general photocopying room in the ministry went back to life. And as long as he was the director, that place did not go down for 1 day. That was because he took action. So if we are here, we are just selling biscuit and selling whatever, but this machine is never worked. He said that you don't have a job because this is the only job that you are employed for. So if you have people who can stand their ground and ensure that we have set this room up for this purpose, it must achieve it. We have set this for this purpose, it must achieve it. So when you can define the task, provide the incentive where it is required, provide the performance bonus if you need to, but ensure also that people who are not measuring to expectation, you're possibly pulling them out for retraining. Sometimes it is not their fault. Maybe something has changed in the system, and then the people need, of course, we're in the modern age where there has to be learning, there sometimes have to be unlearning, at some point they have to be relearning.
I think that's the same thing that happened in Edo State, where that school was built for civil servants to go for retraining, sort of, and at the end of the day there was some level of productivity. All right, let's come to the area of the federal government now, the federal civil service, the state civil service, and all of that. That's what we're talking about right now. Resourcefulness. Some of these things happen, and there are lamentations on a daily basis. Yeah. And at the end of the month, salaries are being paid, but then they retire, and of course they get their pension. Now their pension. Now let's look at it from this level, from the federal government. Yeah. Can there be? What do you think? All right, can be done, because this is an individual now. Yeah. Is it the constitution? Is it the civil service constitution that needs to be visited? Because sometimes you see so many things happening in the civil service. Maybe you are out for something positive and you have saboteurs, all right, who come after you because you just want to do the right thing. All these things happen, gang up, fights missing, and so many things. People even come to the office with their own personal things to sell outside their job because they have virtually nothing to do. So now, what do you think should be done? Is it to revisit the civil service rules, or I don't know? What do you think? Because you just give an instance of an individual. Now, if in general, is there anything that you feel can be done as we try to round up?
Well, the truth is this: is anything wrong with our laws? The answer is no. We have a lot of laws and organization in place. We have a committee or an office for due process. There is Bureau for Public Service Reform, which is a full-fledged bureau existing in the Federal Secretariat. There is the Institute of Public Service Institute. So at this junction, it's meant to be a training center where the civil servants can learn. From time to time, there are all manners of trainings that they are taken for. So what we need to therefore look at is, let's have a new creed. A creed, that's what it is. This is what our job description says. This is what we need to get the job done. This is how we are being monitored. We should be monitored. And if we fail, we accept that this set of consequences should come to us. So we should come to that level where directors can, we already have the policies in place, we already have the rules. So we should be talking about policy deployment. Okay, this is the permanent secretary, this is what you expect as report from the directors. The directors are looking at deputy directors, these are what and what I expect from you, maybe on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, and then the deputy directors can look at the people under them, and then it goes down the line. So the report comes from down up. So we need to then look at, it's not that when you need to go for budget, that's when you are struggling for documents. The record should be in place. So we are a nation that gives no serious value to records, and in the absence of records, there is collateral damage to collective memory. And when the collective memory is damaged, the future is in danger, and the present cannot even survive effectively.
All right, we're talking about productivity, all right, and of course we're focusing on the resourcefulness in the civil service. Let's talk about office place politics, because when we talk about productivity and resourcefulness, one of the things that hamper productivity, like office politics, is nothing else, because it is standing on its own. There is a way lack of productivity comes up when there is office and politics. Yeah. What would you have to say? What can be done by organizations, by the civil service, to do away with office politics, and what is even the essence or the root cause of office politics? We're rounding up in just a few minutes.
Humans, for being humans, there will be preferences and there will be some form of connection. But like we will always say, in the modern world, let the people be people. Let the process be the process, and putting a technology in place to match the people with the process. So it doesn't matter how much you like me. If they give the two of us aptitude test or a task to render, that the reports will come out independently, and you have not done it or have not done it, the result will be obvious. If there is not office politics, might favor what I always call the vocal minority. However, if there are reporting process and evidence in place, the listening majority can always judge who has performed and who has not performed. So favoritism, nepotism, or any other thing we may want to call it, play out because there are no records. If the records are clear, even the loser will know that, look, I lost. And that's very clear. And that's the situation. So we need record, we need processes that are clearly defined, we need reporting patterns that you can check for facts and figures. And so when decision on promotion and posting are being taken, you're doing it based on that. And that way, those who are performing can have their performance enhanced. Those who are not performing can get to be reskilled.
All right. Finally, before I let you go now, we're talking about office politics here. In the civil service, there seems to be a lot of gangs, team cliques and all of that, forming this office politics. Even in organizations, some organizations around the world, even private sectors, we have them everywhere. We have these people who I call them saboteurs. We have them in most places. At the civil service, are there things maybe the permanent secretary, the HOD, or the management team do that encourages this office politics that boils down to lack of productivity and inefficiency as far as resourcefulness is concerned?
I think it's not about what they do, it's about what they don't do. And that's why we say process. You need a room of paper to do your work. There should be a process that defines how you get it. And if you don't get it, it's a service failure. Somebody should be held accountable. If he knows he's going to be held accountable for not giving you the tool you need to do your job, it doesn't matter the connection between him and the top. The man at the top can leave anytime. The records will show that he has not been doing his job, and there is no way he will continue to stay on that duty. So if you are responsible for logistics and supplies and there is service failure everywhere, when a new head come or we sit down for a proper review and then you measure it against process, you are supposed to make tire available to the driver in 48 hours. They don't get it until 2 or 3 months after that they have applied. You cannot get this, people cannot get table and chair to work, the copier does not work, or there is no diesel to power the generator. Some people are responsible, and there are defined timelines as to at what level do you make reorder. If you have done your reorder at the right time, and somebody thinks because you are not in the right click, you will not supply, when eventually the shifts are down, all you need to do is to show the record that you actually have made your application. Today, it may not favor you, but the records are there. In the next switch, you are going to see that there will be a difference. So it's more of what is not being done than what is being done. Define the process, define the standards, put the standard operating procedures in place for every level and for every staff. So it doesn't matter who you are connected with. If you don't do your job, there will be a report for you there. A student who has not written an exam cannot expect a pass mark in that exam. Maybe if he has written, they can favor him in the marking. But when he has not attempted the exam at all and does not have a feasible script, there is no way he can be favored to have passed.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Ogunde Olalekan, for this wonderful insight and exposure. Well, I think from the bottom line is that over familiarity should not be in there, because no matter what you do, the records are clear. All right, wherever you go, whatever you do will speak for you. You are in the civil service today. One day, you'll be paid your pension and you'll be shown the way out. Some of them don't even have any other source of income apart from what they are doing. And for the fact that you are not committed in what you are doing, at the end of the day, you may not have anything to fall to, because you didn't even master what you were doing. So you have nothing to even do after retirement. That's for some. Thank you very much for coming around on the program.
Welcome.
Well, because of time, this is going to be the size of this discussion. We're coming up with the next discussion as we take you to Ondo State to see how it's going, especially for the peace accord that was being signed. Join us for the next discussion after this break.
Global Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofrebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Getting on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning team.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Oji walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bands, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point. This is business. This is Imo State, southeast of Nigeria. As the wind of transformation blows across the eastern heartland, Imolites bask in the excitement of landmark developmental strides, cutting across health, education, infrastructure, economy, and job creation. Imo State in Focus brings you all the highlights of Governor Hope Uzodinma-led administration's impact on the lives of the good people of Imo State. Imo State in Focus, Sunday at 10:30 p.m. West African time on Global Television.
Global Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofrebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Getting on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning team.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Oji walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bands, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point. This is business. This is Imo State, southeast of Nigeria. As the wind of transformation blows across the eastern heartland, Imolites bask in the excitement of landmark developmental strides, cutting across health, edgelight of Governor Hope Uzodinma-led administration's impact on the lives of the good people of Imo State. Imo State in Focus, Sunday at 10:30 p.m. West African time on Global Television.
Welcome back. It is still the discussion segment on Global Morning. This is the weekend edition. What a fantastic discussion we've had concerning productivity and resourcefulness. Let's take you to Edo State like I promised when we got started. What's happening in Edo State? The Ondo State, I beg your pardon. Ondo State, the election, I tell you, the off-cycle election is getting very serious. The Aida Tiwa, and of course, the other persons involved. Then talk about the peace accord that was being signed. This peace accord has been signed from time to time, times without number. And of course, the INEC chairman coming to say, well, we've learned our lesson from what happened in Edo State. Ondo is going to be different. All right, let's see how the difference is going to play out. Already in the papers this morning, we've heard that rice and gari is being given to people. People are being wowed with rice and gari in Edo State, but there is hunger in the land. Don't you think that is going to be detrimental to the election? Joining me is an ex-lawmaker, and of course, he is Honorable Cletus Obun. He's right here with me on the program. Good morning, sir.
Good morning for having me on this do matters, a do on do.
Yes.
And we're back here to deal with that.
Yeah, let's look at the peace accord that has been signed. This peace accord, oftentimes during elections, we'll see parties signing it and delegates signing it, and especially people who are vying for the position sign it. Has it really made any difference?
Well, to some degree, you will say that it's like a warning sign, a sign of caution, a caution sign to a road user. That is what it is to players and political actors. Otherwise, it has become more of a ritual, but a ritual that is necessary for us to get the thing done rightly. Whether it has had an impact, if you look at Edo, for example, with the threat of violence and accusations and allegations of intention to commit violence and disrupt the public peace in Edo State, even when PDP refused to sign the peace accord, But we could see that to a large extent there was some peace in that election, because we have a major incident of violence that we normally will find with the main political talks and actors in that state. But this time around, even when one of the parties, especially the ruling party, refused to sign, there still was some level of peace. You could give it 80-90% of peaceful election in Edo State. So if a man like Abdul Salami, an international peacekeeper, both as a combatant in the army and as a former head of state and now playing the role for the entire African continent, comes to sit over a matter, and people like Father Bishop Kuka, the one father of Sokoto diocese, you definitely will come to think that now it might look like something to play with, but in the future we find that that peace accord will definitely become a major instrument to weigh the options about what the intention of a political party is and what a political actor intends to do. If he signs or does not sign, it can begin to weigh in on the voters' decision about whether to vote for them or not. But for now, like I said, it is more like a ritual.
Now, let's talk about Ondo State elections specifically right now. In the papers this morning, it's been said that the voters are being wooed with garri and rice. Looking at the hunger in the land, don't you think this will be a threat to a free and fair election in Ondo State?
I don't know why we like to gaslight ordinary political tactics and strategies of politicians in an election cycle. Only recently, my friends were sending me footages and videos of things that Trump sent to their boxes, food items as well. Are they also hungry in America? Is that also vote buying? If you walk to a man's house and start walking a road to his place on the eve of an election, is that vote buying? If you build a borehole in an election cycle during campaigns and go and drill boreholes rapidly in 4 or 5 communities that you know are intensely populated in terms of votes, will you be said to be doing vote buying? That because you put water in the place to show that, look, if I can do this as a private citizen, now I'm coming in as a governor or as a senator, I can do more. Is that vote buying? We must have to differentiate between weighing, lobbying, and persuading voters. It is not just by rhetoric. It is by actions. For instance, look at Abakumosa in Edo State. Well, he didn't go for campaigns. If that is his political strategy, how will that become a problem?
But then, why are you waiting until it's time for election before you do it? If you want to be a philanthropic, you should be known for philanthropism. Why waiting until election is 4, 5, 6 days before you begin to bring out the philanthropic in you?
No, philanthropy is not in any way related to elections. Why do you begin to talk very nicely only during elections? Because that is the season for it. You don't walk to the streets or walk into somebody's farm and start preaching to him that he should go to heaven. You don't do that. That is for reading, for clearing. And what you are praying for in the morning is, God bless the work of my hands. You don't go to farm to preach. You go to church to preach. So on the period of election, you go to the field to know people by any means possible, provided it is allowed by law. Does it infringe on any of our laws? I do not think so. Many of our laws have been violated by the simple giving of items. In any case, you come to tell people vote for me and then you walk away and say, I don't want to be seen to be influencing them, not to show my philanthropy at this point. I was giving the example of Edo State. What they do, I went there to do an undercover job to see who was doing what and to give my expert authority to my party. And I discovered the man had been doing that over the years, long before he ever aspired to run any election. He's been doing that persistently in his community. The peace, the security outfits in his area, he contributes clothing, torchlights, and that sort of thing to the youth, pays them for some months when the community cannot pay an order. So in the case of Ondo State, just near garri and bread. And then everybody is not shouting as if it is worse than people who never even as much as show me. Do you want to introduce hunger? You are showing me this is what I can do. This is the first of what I do. Even Christ I know, what did he not do? When you were saying advertising that he was going to everything, he was not advertising, he was saying, give me a foretaste of what he can do. Why? When you told me when we did that at the wedding.
But, Honorable, let's call spade a spade right now. We're talking about free and fair election here. And people doing what they are supposed to do, voting the right person. The essence of election is to vote the right person. Then, if for any reason the wrong person is being voted because probably somebody needs to eat, all right, and you give the person food because the person is hungry, and the person votes who the person really don't like, but because the person has been conscientized or maybe psychologically motivated emotionally to vote for that person, is that okay?
No, let me say this to you. When you deal with persuasion, which is rhetoric, every means of persuasion, even by mere dressing, some people win election by their dressing only. This man is very fine. He does. So whatever you can use to persuade people to vote for you is legitimate, and that is why you call it campaign. Campaign means anything that you can do to make somebody vote for you. That does not also mean the illegalities that the rules forbid. Once you don't break those rules, if you now accept that you will sell your birthright, good governance, for a loaf of bread or some cups of garri and cups of rice, so be it that you take 4 cups of rice, 1 cup per year. For the period the money is going to be there for the 4 cups you have collected, you don't need anything again from him. That is, it cannot be because of, please, a man who has principles, there is dignity in poverty. There is dignity in poverty, and you can see people reject it. Go to the book of Maccabees. Even here today, as I speak to you, I know I sat in a position in Cross River State for more than 20 years. I know that the supporters that we have still stand by that till today. Not, in fact, even when you go to a polling unit or to collection center, and the ruling party brings food and water for people who have waited all night for election material, they reject it. They refuse to collect it. So when a man now goes to court and says it is because of hunger, and some people give you an excuse that he's stealing because of hunger, why don't you steal because of hunger? There are people that can stand hunger and prefer to die than to go and steal because it's in them. So when people sell their birthright, it is a decision, and that is one thing God gave to man: your ability to make choices. So if you make the choice that you want to collect anything and then give the wrong person a position which you know is going to affect you for 4 years, then that is your decision and you stand by it.
Honorable Boone, let's get to INEC now saying, they've learnt their lesson. The INEC chairman said they have learnt their lessons from what happened in Edo State, and for Ondo State, it's going to be a different ball game altogether. Now, looking at that statement, what would you have to make out of it? Because if you look at elections in Nigeria, he even talked about logistics and management and a whole lot of other things. Can we say, all right, INEC now will do something different? Because a lot of times you hear things like, go to court if you're not satisfied.
No, what INEC is saying has been shown. There is an incremental developmental progress being made from the INEC end. Off-cycle elections, don't forget, are concentrated in one area, and the demographics are different. Polling units are less, movement is less related to a state. Ondo State, 1 square meter of Ondo State. So it is easy to carry material, but because some of the challenges you keep hearing about is late arrival of materials, delay in collation, failure of technology, and such other things. And INEC is saying, look, for each election, we take the lessons and improve on the next one. And you can see that there was nothing like late arrival of materials in the Edo State election. There are no such things. The little challenges they have, we don't also hear about technology failure. Less and less of that is now occurring because they are perfecting it, and there is less traffic and therefore less problem for technology. So when INEC says that they are going to improve, you can see between 2011 and today, INEC has tremendously improved. We may not like their results, but you will agree with me on sector by sector, item by item, INEC has dramatically improved with each election. So the use of technology, you can imagine that Trump is even rejecting technology in America. The owners of technology.
Now you're taking us to the United States. This is the second time you're making reference to the United States. Yes. We talked about Donald Trump sharing food for people. Now you're talking about it again. What are the take-homes from the U.S. election for the Nigerian system, the democracy that we have? What are the take-homes from the U.S. election?
U.S. has to learn from Nigeria. We have very little to learn with Trump as president. We have very little to learn because his tactics have been rough, punitive, very intimidating, harassing, and sufficiently racist. So for me, he is not a good example of how to learn democracy. He is an anti-democratic agent, and I think that America is in for it.
No, we're not talking about the
we are talking about the process. It's the process, and so it is timid, it is primitive. It is rough tactics. He gaslighted everybody and generated unnecessary tension in America and brought again his gender biases and his racist tendencies. They were all manifest. So there is nothing to learn from him except to learn that, in any case, look at the way the Americans even voted. This is the first time they were voted a woman.
Honorable, get it right. I'm not talking about learning from Trump. I'm talking about learning from the electoral process that brought him into office, not the individual now.
Excuse me, the individual is important because take him away, the campaigns will never be the same. So the campaign tactics and the processes from the electoral bodies. I have been curious as a political scientist to question the issue of superdelegates, where the vote of 30 people is better than the vote of 300 people. They have to teach us how that demographic works. If democracy is government of the people, by the people, and for the people, and majority of the people are saying this is the person we want, and then 10 people say we don't want him. Is that not segregation? Is that not discriminatory? Is that not repressive? And everybody is trying to make us understand it. I have refused to understand that. How the superdelegate is better than the ordinary people who are going to feel the impact of governance. Because the majority of the people are not being undermined for a few persons, elitist persons, sitting there. And the Americans are being adjudged one of the best. How do you adjudge that two people vote, you call them superdelegates? Now, if it is proportional voting, like we have federal house and senate, in Nigeria, it may be the quality of states, 3 persons per state. In America, they are telling you that 500 people are less than 5 people. So somebody who has 500 votes will lose because the super people, that is the super delegates, are 4 that voted for you and 6 voted for their man. So 10 people are more than 500 people. They have to explain that to us and tell us why it should be so and why we should copy it. Can you do that in Nigeria? Do the law here. So is that what we should be learning from? So the electoral process also is undergoing reforms after 250 years. We are just 64. America is 250 years a democracy. Britain is about more than 150 years. They are producing less and less female leaders. Less and less female leaders. In fact, they have not produced one female president. Not even by accident, not even as a deputy.
None. Too. Haven't produced one.
At 64, at 250 years. We are even living there because our women are becoming leaders in different places.
So let me ask, do you foresee Nigeria having a female president in anytime soon?
We are. Look at the confidence we have generated in the world with Amina, with Okonjo-Iweala and others. If they can do that to the world, why wouldn't they do it in Nigeria? Why can't they come and rule Nigeria?
Would they actually be allowed to do that? It's not
a matter of allowance. Stop the concept of allowance. That is what I don't agree with women each time they say allowed. Women have been senators here. Women have been deputy governors here. Women have run for governorship. We saw what Mama Taraba did. We saw the other one in Adamawa almost winning the election. Next we work with it. So if we can get that right, why won't we? We saw Itiaba becoming acting governor in Anambra at a point. We've seen others like that across Nigeria. We have even done more on the African continent and especially in Nigeria for women than the entire 2 civilizations of United Kingdom and America put together. What we have done for women in Nigeria, they have not done 1/3 of it. Because on the African continent, we have female presidents all over the place. They have not cumulatively put together. So I think they have more to learn from us, and we are beginning to teach them that.
Has a very, very unique perspective right here that the United States of America will need to learn from Nigeria as it has to do with politics. Well, that is his own point, that's his own view, and that's his own perspective. And like you are thinking right now, what do you think, should be done in Nigeria to make the electoral process more formidable and better than it is right now? Because growth and, of course, our success has no limit. You can keep improving day by day. We're looking forward to what will come out from Ondo State for the governorship election that is coming with a full force. Thank you very much, Honorable Cletus Obun, former lawmaker, for joining us today on the conversation.
Thank you for having me, and may Nigeria be blessed.
Nigeria be blessed. That's always your prayer for this country, and I love it that you are always very, very positive about this nation. This is going to be the size of this discussion. We're coming up with the next discussion, which has to do with creativity and looking inside of you to see what you can contribute to the society as an individual. Join us after this break for the next discussion. Global Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofrebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Getting on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning team.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Oji walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bands, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point. This is business. This is Imo State, southeast of Nigeria. As the wind of transformation blows across the eastern heartland, Imolites bask in the excitement of landmark developmental strides, cutting across health, education, infrastructure, economy, and job creation. Imo State in Focus brings you all the highlights of Governor Hope Uzodinma-led administration's impact on the lives of the good people of Imo State. Imo State in Focus, Sunday at 10:30 p.m. West African time on Global Television.
Global Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofrebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Getting on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning Team.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Oji walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bands, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point. This is business. This is Imo State, southeast of Nigeria. As the wind of transformation blows across the eastern heartland, Imolites bask in the excitement of landmark developmental strides cutting across hell.
Welcome back. I told you on return it's going to be another wonderful time for us to discuss the impact that the society needs, and there are so many things to look at. As a matter of fact, how do you think music can contribute to societal development? A lot of societal decadence today, be it a gospel music, be it a secular music. Every music is supposed to have a role that it plays in the society, beginning from the lyrics to the person, the lifestyle of the musicians, the songwriters, the coaches. Today I have a songwriter, a music minister, a coach right here. Some of you have seen her before because some of our songs are everywhere right now. I have with me in the studio Georgina GNC. She is a songwriter and of course a coach and a mentor to so many. It's good to have you on the program this morning.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Good morning.
Good morning. It's good to have you on the program.
Thank you.
Well, we choose to talk about this today because creativity is something. Some persons just wake up overnight and they said, well, they are music ministers, they are musicians, they are this, they give themselves all sort of names without knowing the impact that what they are doing is supposed to make in the society. So we will be looking at just a few things today as far as music is concerned. Well, how has it been in the music industry? Because the entertainment industry majorly has so many things in common. Because whether you are doing gospel entertainment, secular entertainment, each of this segment of music needs to make impact the people, impact the family, and impact the society. So how has the journey been?
Well, we really thank God because God has been so faithful. You know, the music, as we can say, is a combination of sounds, musical sounds that is pleasant to the ear. So a lot of people have ventured into this music because of, some say there's big money in it, some say there's influence and all that, and a lot of persons has entered into music without knowing whether they are called for it, they have passion for it or not. And because it has come to be like that, you know, society is facing a lot of damages. I can say damages because what do I mean? Competition in everywhere. Because anything you don't have love, you don't have a core doing, you won't go anywhere. It will just amount to competition and jealousy and everything. But when you have the love, you could remember in 1 Samuel 16:23 in a Christian view that when Saul was afflicted with sickness, he beckoned on Moses. He said, bring me a mystery. And when they play, the evil spirit left him. So it's supposed to be when we play or when we sing that something happens.
To the society.
To the society.
To the people.
And to the people.
And
even in
we're
our
talking
family.
about a king right now. It's just like you doing something, doing a music, and the president calls on you and say, hey, come on, this is good. Come to Aso Rock and, of course, come and sing. It's time for Democracy Day. It's time for independence. Come and sing and impart the youth. All right, let's look at the creativity aspect of music right now, whether secular or gospel. Do you need to be creative to be a musician? Because I know you are a songwriter. That's the reason I'm asking that question. Because there are a lot of songs out there today that doesn't make meaning. You know, the lyrics doesn't make meaning. So do you need to be creative to be a gospel or a secular musician?
You captain, yes. You need to be creative. If I simply put, no creativity, no music. You understand? You need to be creative. You need to be, as a gospel musician, you need to be prayerful before it comes out. Like me, I receive song, a dream, studying my Bible, listening to music, you know, praying, having intercessory. So music can come in. It's a creativity. Then I now begin to look into what we have in the society. If I put this race, where is it? First of all, it has to minister to me. It has to minister to me before I will think about, you know, bringing it out. So it has to be, creativity has to be there. Create how the song will be, how the chorus, the hyper of the song, and how the tempo and how the beat will be. All these things that what you are going to consider before you enter into making a music.
Okay, let's look at Nigeria as a country right now. We have a lot of people roaming the street. All right, some persons believe by the time you have one or two lines, you go and you weave your hair, or maybe you make it to be rough, or you become a dada, or sort of, or I don't know how they call it.
Yes,
dreadlock, you know, before you can actually be admitted or seen as someone who sings. Let's look at Nigerian youth as a matter of fact. How do you think, okay, music, whether secular or gospel, can contribute to the growth of the society? What does music bring to the table for a nation like Nigeria?
Music brings happiness. That's one thing that I know. That when you are praising God, you are happy. Even in a secular world, when you are doing what you are called to do, you are happy. And thereby, the atmosphere in the society changes. When the right music is on the air, like me as a gospel artist, I look up to Nathaniel Bassey. You can't see him maybe dressing anyhow, like he said, or because some music ministers, even gospel artists right now, they do keep hair, you know, that kind of dresses, doing all those things, making it loud and all that. But this young man, I've been watching him. You can't see him doing something like that, and his music has been all over the world, making impact. So these are the things. I said earlier that a lot of people are not called into this, both secular or gospel. They are not called. It's because of jobless. So many people are out there, they don't have what to do, and because they have heard that this, my friend, put 2 or 3 lines, and today is all over. In fact, everybody is the talk of the town. So me too. You know, Nigeria, me too. Make I use that language. Make I even where the person put love, you put maybe like, you know, changing English and all that. You know, gospel artists, when somebody puts hallelujah, I can put amen. You know, copyright everywhere because they want to make it. So, but when you know, relate, you know that this is your passion, this is what you are called to do. You enter into it. You will see improvement even in the society and in our families and in churches. Because remember, when music was played to Saul, he was made whole. And he's a king. And he continued what he was doing. When you are playing music, gospel, secular in Nigeria is good, this our nation will become better. Because you are happy, you can't be bitter, and you are playing and you are creating music, then atmosphere will be better. But when you are happy and what you are doing is divine, is from God, there is no way your music will not make impact, and there is no way the nation will not move on. Because me, I pray for this nation. I believe that this nation will come, if I will be better one day. Instead of condemning, in my music, thanksgiving. Because let me take you back to Herodian. You know, when the daughter dance very, very well, music, I don't know whether it's in the Bible, let me say gospel music, or we don't know the type of music, but it pleases the king.
I don't think that was gospel.
I don't think so. That's why I said, so it pleases the father, the king, and he say, what do you have me do? Although the end, I don't like the end. Because music.
You're trying to say that music, apart from you just wanting the money, music can make you stand before king.
It take away serious frustration, depression, all those things, anxieties. It takes it away.
And it can bring more than.
And it can bring more than, yes, it can bring more than the mental aspect of it. Because when you are good, me I'm good, the society is good.
That's fine. I think the take home right here is that whatever you're doing as a music minister, whether gospel or you are doing secular, one thing you mustn't fail to do is the fact that you need to be consistent, creative in whatever you do, and of course you don't be a copyright. You don't have to be a copyright. Be the original of your song. If you know what you're doing, one day, king, someone can just put a call across to you. You may just be looking forward to the peanuts, the little money, but then that one youth from your song, joy was taken away. Maybe someone that wanted to commit suicide, just listening to your song, the person changed his or her mind. No, I don't need to take my life. Like she has rightly spoken, there is hope for everyone in this country, and these are the kind of things that music is supposed to be promoting. Well, let me ask you, we are rounding up now, but let me ask you, why is it that at a particular point in time you hear that, oh, this music is everywhere, then in a short while the music is nowhere to be found? Or maybe some persons start music and at the long run you see them not continuing, you see them go into something else. Is it that, are they the kind of people you call copyright?
No. You know, when you don't have a structure, there's no way the music, that's actually the problem we're having. Because I have a lot of songs in my YouTube, Georgina GNC. I have a lot of songs like So, Name Above, You Alone, plenty of them. But if you are not there, let me just say, the music industry have made it very, big now. That if you don't have money, because everything is good and money, if you don't have money to promote your music to the length that everybody will see, both the bloggers, they will carry it everywhere, you are handicapped. So that's why I say in structure, we need a workable structure, so that the generation, these are young, they will also look into our own songs, because God has been, using us mightily, like the one I released on first day of this month, Unto Us a Child is Born. Somebody sent me a message, say, this is the best music I has ever heard for this year, that the message is clear. Unto us a child is born, and the government shall be upon his shoulder. And the name shall be called Emmanuel, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. So if you have Jesus in your life, everything, you have peace. But today it's as if it's only me and my few persons are hearing it. Because I don't have.
But then, do you think the government, there is anything the government needs to do to support the music industry, the Nollywood, what else, the creativity, the spoken words, the industry? It's an industry and these are industries that can actually contribute to the growth of the economy. So finally, before I let you go, what do you think the government will need to do to support this industry?
Government need a lot to do. They have to give us a platform whereby the whole world will see our music. Because I was once talking to a radio presenter in NTA, Channel, AIT, and this one, the money they gave me to pay before what I'm doing will be seen is nothing to me.
Well, that's it.
So, and I couldn't meet up. So government has to do something.
They would need to do. Well, the platform is very important because a lot of people need an enabling environment to actually move in their area of creativity. Like we'll talk about people who are doing business, the SMSC, those people doing business, small scale business people, and every other organization needs the support of the government, especially an enabling environment to do what they are called to do, to contribute their own quota to nation building, to the growth and development of the society. Thank you very much for Georgina GNC. Yes. All right, for encouraging the youth today. If you are youth and you are out there, you've heard, you need to do your own best to contribute to the growth of this nation. If you are gifted, if you are talent, refine it, all right? Bring in the creativity, all right? What you need to do your own part very well before you can get support from the government and even from God himself, because you have a role to play. All of us need to join our hands together and build this nation. Every industry in this country is very important. Of course, this is going to be the size of this discussion, and of course, the global morning for today is come to an end. A very big thank you once again for coming around. Keep doing the good work you're doing. You have a lot of people that are looking up to you, that you're coaching. She has a team that she coaches, people that she speak to, mentees, a lot of them. And this is another way to help build the society, to avoid societal decadence. And I think I will need to give you kudos for that. We'll hope to have you some of the time. Yes. All right, thank you very much, our viewers out there. This is the end of the weekend edition of Global Morning. We'll come on your way again for another wonderful edition of Global Morning. That's going to be tomorrow at 9 a.m. Have a beautiful day. My name is Ramsey Enoch. I'll go bye-bye for now.
Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.